Yo, it's me, CSCOTT baby, and welcome to the first part of a three-part series I'm doing in the history of the Power Rangers. Today, we're going to dive into the Fox Kids years of the Power Rangers, from Mighty Morphin all the way to Wild Force, or at least the first half of Wild Force. Power Rangers came out in 1993 and was a mix of the Japanese Super Sentai series with American footage. And I really don't know what is like Zero Ranger. I'm not gonna try to name every single series it's based on. I'm sorry, I'm not. But yeah, the basic plot for the first season was Rita Repulsa was freed from her containment on the moon in a giant dumpster thing, and Zordon tells his robot sidekick, his android sidekick, to bring in 5 teenagers added to Jason, Trini, Kimberly, Billy, and Zach as the Power Rangers in this time. In this first incarnation, Jason's the Red Ranger, Trini's the Yellow Ranger, Kimberly's the Pink Ranger, Billy's the Blue Ranger, and Zach is the Black Ranger. The first season was basically a bunch of monster of the week episodes with a couple of decent two-parters and stuff. The first multi-parter that really stuck with was the Green Medieval arc, which introduced the Green Ranger Tommy, which is if you talk to someone about Power Rangers, Tommy's probably gonna be the one they bring up. He's like the most legendary Power Ranger there is. He's the most famous Power Ranger. They even say this in one of the later ones, like he's the oldest Power Ranger, not the oldest, just the most famous or something like that. And then he's evil at first because Rita has control of the green power coin. And I will be talking about the other movie, the 2016 movie later, but I like how they added a twist to that. But at this point, Tommy becomes good and his power is weakened because of this somehow. I never understood how. Eventually, because of the green flame candle, his powers are taken away. He does come back eventually by the end of the season. I think that's all I need to say about the first season. This is season 1 and 2. Season 1. Season 2 came along. We got a new villain in Lord Zed, who was the first villain exclusive to the US. Because he wasn't, Rita was already established in the Super Sentai. Zed wasn't. He was very much an original character for Power Rangers, not Sentai. He uses his fish monster to control their Dinozord, which is... This is my second time doing this because my camera likes to turn off by itself now for some reason. Most times I forget to mention the Dinozords. They have Dinozords in Season 1. Here they get the Thunderzords. But to do that, they have to get back the control of the Dinozords and use them to create the new Zords, which always confused me as they're creating the new Zords because their old Zords are being taken control of. But you need to get the control back to get the new Zords. I think maybe this was just a way to make sure the new Zords weren't around anymore. I don't know. The only Zord that stays is the Dragon Zord, which I thought was one of the coolest Zords around until we get to the White Ranger. So, right now I'll break it down. The original 5 Dinozords were Red Tyrannosaurus, Blue Triceratops, Black Mastodon, Pink Pterodactyl, and Yellow Saber-Tooth Tiger. When the things changed, they became Red Dragon, Black Lion, even though it was actually green, I'll get to that, Blue Unicorn, Yellow Griffin, and Pink Firebird. Now, in actuality here, the Sentai series that has the Thunderzords is actually completely different to the ones with these suits. In all actuality, I just remember this. The reason why the Green Ranger is so sparse is because in the Super Sentai, he was actually killed off. which is why they rarely use the Green Ranger at a certain point, which is why they made it that, his powers weak or whatever. So they use completely different suits for the Super Sentai they're taking the Zords from. With the exception, I think, of the White Ranger. I think that one was actually part of one of the suits. But, and in all actuality, there was no Black Ranger. It was green. And there are some scenes, especially when it's in the Megazord form, when you can tell that the lion is not black, it's green. Season 2 dealt with Lord Zed as the big bad. And there is a two-parter, White Light, which introduced a new White Ranger. Tommy's powers are gone because what Lord Zed did, he leaves, and then there's this two-parter where Tommy is supposedly kidnapped, and then the Lord Zed is creating this new monster, which for some reason takes forever to create, even though eventually he's like, I'm not waiting, and brings it to life. Alpha and Zordon leave go to a secret room to work on a project, which you find out is a new 6th Ranger. Now, originally, Brad Hawkins was supposed to be the White Ranger. If you don't know who that is, he was one of the VR Troopers on VR Troopers. He was Ryan Steele. And originally, Jason David Frank, who plays Tommy, was going to play that character in a sort of version called Cybertron. It also takes from a Japanese series. I'm not going to go into that, but the popularity of the character of Tommy brought Tommy back, and eventually Brad Hawkins would go on to be that same character. But I think it was Adam Steele was the name of Jason David Frank's character, and it changed to Ryan Steele with Hawkins. But yeah, and it would be the last time that Hawkins would be considered for a Power Ranger role. We'll get to that. Also, there was problems behind the scenes for 3 of the actors. Walter Jones, who was the Black Ranger, Austin St. John, who was the Red Ranger, and Thai Tran, who was the Yellow Ranger. They had problems. Well, I'm not exactly sure what it was, whether they wanted more money or they weren't getting along with people. I don't remember what it was. But you could tell, at least, there's an episode where they introduced 3 new characters, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. And from then on, you can tell there was something going on. Especially when you're an adult now, you notice things you didn't notice when you were a kid. For starters, Tommy, Kimberly, and Billy are the only ones that really show up outside of their Ranger suits. The others show up later, but write it off. I'll contact Jason, Trini, and Zach. And then they show up as Rangers. And when they do show up out of suit, it's archive footage. Like, for instance, during this second season, Walter Emmanuel Jones, which is how you could tell his archive footage, he was having these dreads that he was having. And all of a sudden, he's got his flat top from the first season back. And most of it is just like looking up and stuff where they're not talking. He's just looking up and listening. I think it might be from even the first episode. I don't know. But there's a lot of, archive footage at this point until they actually say goodbye. And they're not actually there to say goodbye. They're in their Ranger suits and they go like this. They get rid of them by saying they win a contest to go help out or whatever. And then Rocky and Aisha take over. The power transfer with the sword and everything. There is one more arc I want to talk about, and that's the wedding. When Lord Zed, and this is hinted, Lord Zed puts Rita back in a dumpster and sends it through space. She comes back in the White Light 2-parter, and Bulk and Skull, who I haven't mentioned up to this point because they're really not too important, they're just a couple of lunkheads, they break open. But they're in most of the series, that seasons up till Lost Galaxy is the last that has anything to do with them. But where was I? They try to open up the dumpster, and they actually succeed, but the Rangers show up and send her back into space. She comes back later in this season, and she puts a love spell. She makes herself look younger because they change actresses, and she puts a love spell on Lord Zed for them to get married, and they become like a dual villain pair, and they're featured over the next couple seasons. It was after this that they decided they were going to make or it was actually during this, they were going to make a feature film, and they made a deal with Fox, and they actually had a budget, so the suits are better. The Zords are CGI, which sometimes the person in the suit is a little bit better. I'm just saying. I remember my mom took me to the theater to see this movie, and to this day, I still like it. The CGI doesn't hold up as much as it used to, especially if you watch the Blu-ray, which I didn't want to dig out at this point, but these were already sitting out. Yeah, and I introduced the Ninja Zords, and no new suits, which kind of disappointed me, because they showed these, well, sort of, because they showed these new kind of suits. I'm like, oh, okay. So they have those cool new suits, and they're going to get different suits. They didn't. It was just the same. In the movie, though, they have a different pendant. I'm not going to go over this. Eventually, I'm going to review this by itself. But they have different pendants here on their chest, which they don't normally have, actually. Except for Tommy. Yeah. So, let me get to Season 3. Season 3 actually starts off, this is like a backdoor pilot. Which, I guess, was the first backdoor pilot I've seen. It's called A Friend in Need, and it has the Rangers going to the planet Eternoid to help Prince Dex, the Masked Rider, defend the planet. I guess it's where Alpha was created, was Eternoid, I guess. And this is, I only got one here. And, yeah, it sets up that, by the end of it, Lord Dragon, who is the villain of Masked Rider, said she's going to go to Earth. Well, I don't think they didn't use this, because the first episode of Masked Rider is actually a redo of all this without the Power Rangers, but it is considered to be a spin-off. We then get the 4-episode arc, where they get the ninja powers. And again, this takes from a totally different Sentai show. In actuality, they did actually use the costumes for the Alien Rangers here. And there's some explanation, to address some of this. So, yeah, they use the same suits because they're iconic suits. They introduced the Ninjor, who is their new ally and shows up from time to time to help. They get these cool little ninja outfits, and basically it's the same suit. So even though he's got a tiger on his head, and a triceratops, and dinosaurs, that they're not. I was expecting new outfits again, but once again, no. Yeah, not much to say about this one. There is a three-parter, Master Vile and the Metallic Armor, which gives a metallic armor which looks like it's just glitter. It introduces Master Vile, who is Rita's father. Also, this scene introduces Rita's brother, Rito Revolto, but he has a different last name. I don't know. But he actually destroys the Thunder Zords, which is why they have to go look for new powers. And they get the Ninja Zords. And then later, in the changing of the Zords, they get the Shogun Zords. And we also, there's an arc starting with a Ranger Catastrophe. Yeah. We're introduced to the character of Catherine. She's actually an Australian teenage girl who's been hypnotized by Rita into working for her, and she turns into a monster and stuff like that. But she ends up becoming, an ally to them. There's this whole thing with the Shogun Zords. And the Shogun Zords, they have to actually address this, sort of. The Shogun Zords have red, white, blue, black. Red, blue, black, yellow, and white. No pink. And they say that Tommy and Kimberly have to share a Zord because there's no pink. Although, I had a friend who had the toys, and there was a pink one instead of a white one. I don't know why, but it was pink. I don't know why. I don't know why. This arc actually sees the capture of Ninjor and the Falcon Zord. Both versions of the Zords were used from here once they get the Shogun Zords, and they even had a cool little, the white the Falcon Zord fit on the back of the Ninja Megazord like this, and they call it Ninja Mega Falcon Zord. And then they have the Shogun Mega Falcon Zord, where it went through like this, like it's a blasting thing. So it was pretty cool. And it actually, this season actually ends in the cliffhanger. That, oh, when I was a kid and I saw it, I was like, what? And the Rangers are turned into little kids. Now, this is done before in the earlier seasons, but they do it here better. Because it's not just them. Like, they turn everyone into little kids at one point. And here, they do it again. I don't remember what the difference was. Here, they're turning little kids, and it's a cliffhanger. What are they going to do? We get into the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers now. And Zordon knows of alien rangers on the planet Aquitar. And they come to help while they try to figure out how to get the Rangers back to their own selves. There must have been something going down with the little kid who played Billy, because partway through this little miniseries, it's only 10 episodes, Billy creates this machine that can re-ageify him and uses it on himself, and it makes him big, but then, of course, Zed and Rita destroy it, because we can't have him back being normal. The Aquitar Rangers went back and forth because they needed to be around water, because they're water-based aliens, and it made sense. The finale sees their enemy, Hydro Hog, team with Zed and Rita, and eventually they're able to restore everything, bring everybody back to being a normal age. But here's the caveat. Here's the little twist on it. Rito and Goldar have snuck their way into the power, the command center at this point, the command center, and have planted a bomb. They're not able to teleport out before it goes off. This whole thing here is they have to get 5 or 6 pieces of five. Yeah, Billy doesn't go. The other Rangers do. 5 pieces of the Zeo Crystal. And they do get it all together. And then Goldar and Rito take the crystal, blow the place up, but they're not teleported all the way out before it blows up. Alpha teleports them all out. Billy takes a little longer to get out there, and that plays into later in the series. But that was the big cliffhanger. Like, what? What's going to go on? Power Rangers Zeo is what went on. The first big costume change. Power Rangers Zeo. This picks up right where the last one left off, with the command center being destroyed. The Rangers searching around, they find the Zeo Crystal, and they find a way to go down underneath the power chamber. One thing I forgot to mention is that Bulk and Skull's character development changes from bullies to bully allies to their junior police patrol, and then detectives here, because they get fired partway through, and then they become detectives, and then I don't know. So there's only 5 powers to give out. Billy decides he's not going to be a ranger anymore, and the other 5. Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing. Aisha stays behind in Africa to help her family, and they switch places with Tanya, who becomes a new Yellow Ranger. Forgot to mention that. And so that's that. There's a new enemy, despite the fact that it was heavily implied Zed and Rita were going to be the enemies again. We get the Machine Empire. Zed and Rita still pop up here and there, but Machine Empire, King Mondo, and Queen Machina, along with his son, Prince Sprocket, and his older son, Prince Gasket, who shows up in a pretty cool 2-parter, technically 3-parter. Where is Ranger 5 or whatever? I mean, that's part 2. I don't know. There is an arc that Tommy goes through in this, though, where he meets his brother, played by his real-life brother. May he rest in peace. I don't remember his real name, but he goes through this journey. during his Zeo quest, he meets Native Americans. And here he finds an old Native American man who resembles the same man he met on his quest. He ends up meeting up with David Trueheart, which is his brother, and they reconnect. There is during this, a mysterious Gold Ranger shows up. And there's a whole thing as to who it could be. At one point, it looks like it's Billy. Another point, it looks like it's Skull. And another point, it looks like it's David, Tommy's brother. I can't remember the others, but David they're in the water, and they get, knocked around, and David gets separated from the other ones. The Golden Ranger shows up, and then after the Golden Ranger leaves, David shows up again. So it makes it look like, he should have been. But it turns out it's actually Prince Trey from Triforia, and he is now being split into 3 because he can't hold on to power anymore or something, and he has to give the Golden Ranger powers to someone else. Of course, they tried with Billy. But because the actor, David Yost, was on his way out due to, let's say, harassment issues among the crew. Because in real life, the actor was homosexual, and the crew, not the cast, but the crew, made fun of him for it, so he was on his way out. And we'll talk about his fun episode because it's so freaking stupid. They set this up, and I always got this wrong. I always thought it was the aging machine that messed with him, and he wasn't able to handle a Ranger power. I got that messed up with another episode, but it's actually when he was being teleported out, he took the longest. He absorbed the most energy, and thus he was not able to carry a Ranger power anymore. So Tommy says he has an idea for the 6th Ranger, which, if you were watching back then, is people are going to say it's his brother. No, out of freaking nowhere, it's Jason. Next episode has Tommy and this mystery guy running, and it's revealed to be Jason. He becomes the Gold Ranger. And yeah, then the 2-parter where Tommy goes missing. It's actually sort of in 3 parts. Yeah, Where in the World is Zeo Ranger 5, where he disappears, and King for a Day, Part 1 and 2. And then this season actually has the first team-up Rangers of 2 Worlds, where the Indian Rangers come and help them fight bad guys and stuff. Billy's final episode was something stupid. He's not even in it. Much like the other ones. He was just done. They have this old guy show up and saying he's Billy, and his age machine, when it made him older, I guess it affected him, and now he's really old. And so he has to be sent to Aquitar, and I think that's part of the Rangers of 2 Worlds. I think he gets sent to Aquitar, and they change him back. But the way they handle this goodbye is it's archive footage of him talking with words being dubbed over. That's not David Yost talking, and when you're a kid, you probably don't notice it, but rewatching it as an adult, it's very obvious. It's archive footage of him talking. It's very blurry to make it look like it's like Zordon. The actor who played Zordon, David Fielding, actually only recorded maybe an hour worth of stuff they used throughout the series. Just, stuff. And it was kind of like that. It was all blurry. In the words of the Animaniacs that ripped this off, it's all fuzzy. And you tell it's not him. The last episode's not even the last episode. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't connect to anything. They defeat King Mondo, but he's not really defeated. Prince Gasket says he's going to get revenge. But there's not really a big ending to the Machine Empire. Although they mentioned in a later season that the Machine Empire was defeated. It's not really a big defeat. Up next was... Hold on, I'll make sure I'm... Hold on. This is my stacking in when I put them... Alright. Next was the Turbo Power Rangers movie, which wrote out Rocky due to an injury and brought in Justin. I'm gonna breeze through Turbo because it's just... it's the worst season. I'm telling you, it's the worst season. They bring in Justin. This whole thing has Divatox. Oh, by the way, last episode of Zeo actually has Trey of Treyforia coming back. Now, wait, I did mention something before. Brad Hawkins they actually use his voice for Trey because the triplets who play Trey not very good English, and he was actually supposed to be the Gold Ranger, but he was cast in VR Troopers, so they used these triplets and made up a story about how they had to be separate, even though it's very easily solved that they use a thing and become one again, and then Jason's just normal. I mention that because Jason and Kimberly show up in this. They're taken hostage by Divatox as wedding presents for her marriage to this big beast Malagor, who's used once again for the Dark Spectre, I think is his name, in Power Rangers in Space. Not much to say. Annoying little Blue Ranger. Some good fight scenes. I don't mind the movie. This though. And basically, the first episode has the Rangers graduating on the first arc. And it basically writes off Rocky as he's gone. Jason's permanently the Blue Ranger now. And, they're... I'm not really... They have two-parters in a row, for God's sake. They do. They have Honey, I Shrunk the Rangers, which sees the Rangers get shrunk, the little mini ones. And then they have Passing the Torch. And I just remember that a lot of the first part of this is just random fighting episodes. It's not really much. Like, the Rangers aren't doing much. Like, there's always the story with Rangers, what they're going to do, what's going on. They're not doing much because they're setting up for them leaving. And I don't know if they introduced Carlos and Ashley before this. They're in this episode. They're in the two-part Passing the Torch episode. Tommy, Adam, Aisha, and Kat all leave and are replaced with TJ, who's the new Red Ranger, Carlos, who's the new Green Ranger, Ashley, who's the new Yellow Ranger, and Cassie, who's the new Pink Ranger. Unfortunately, we're stuck with Justin. The series doesn't really do much from there. It's not really anything eventful. There's, like, TJ's baked into a pizza. There's a Phantom Ranger arc, which is pretty good. Like, there's like 2 different Six Rangers, if you think about it, in this one. They're in the first half with the, original Turbo Rangers. There's the Blue Centurion, who's featured somewhat in the later episodes. We're going to get the Phantom Ranger, whose identity is never revealed. He's just, a Phantom Ranger. Apparently Cassie has a thing for, I don't know. The final episode, though, is the only one that I remember, and that's Divatox destroyed the power chamber, and it's sent into space by Dark Spectre. So the Rangers, to protect Zordon, because at the beginning of this, Zordon and Alpha 5 take off and are replaced by Alpha 6 and... I don't know, she's the female one. It's played by the same actress who plays Divatox. I don't know her name. But they go to help Zordon on I said Endor, on not Edenoi, Eltar, which is where he's from. And they went back there, and but Divatox takes off into space after they destroy the power chamber, and so the Rangers decide they got to go into space. But Justin gets his dad back full time, and wants to stay with his dad. The others go into space. Now we get to Power Rangers in Space, which is famous for 2 things. 1, being one of the best Power Ranger series ever. And 2, a crossover with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let me be clear. Not the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not even the cartoons. I'm talking about... Should have brought these up earlier. I'm talking about these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's right. I think this was actually shot... I don't know. After, before, whatever, but it was, they had to... The new villain of this one is Princess. I was in Amidala. Astronomer. And she takes control of Ninja Turtles. Right away, we get this, like, the first few parts are like a big arc from out of nowhere and everything. They meet Andros. The Rangers meet Andros, who is a red space Power Ranger. He's reluctant to have them help, but eventually he gives them the other four morphers. They become Power Rangers. And then we get a turtle crossover, which is meh. And eventually it's revealed that Andros had a sister named Karone who went missing thanks to a villain named Darkonda, which we meet later. And it turns out that Astronema is actually his sister, Karone. They find it out later. They also find out that Andros' best friend, Zane, who was the Silver Ranger, is frozen because he was in an incident where he got attacked and was supposedly fatally wounded, but he's healed and he helps them out. And then we get the reveal that Astronema is his sister. She becomes good, but is then kidnapped again and becomes evil. And she starts off looking like with white hair and stuff, and then when she's recaptured, she has red hair and stuff. It's weird. Trying to go a little bit faster because I don't want to last too long. And season actually ends with a pretty good finale. They have their Megazord in this one. I didn't talk much about the Turbo Megazord, but the Megazord in this one is a ship that connects to a little shuttle that they took from the Nasada spaceport and becomes the Astro Megazord. There's also another ship called the Delta Megazord, and then they get the standard 5-piece Megazord later with the Mega Voyager. And then Zane has his own little shuttle Megazord thing. The final episode of this is a two-parter in which Astronema and the others, they're taking over Earth and other galaxies. You see past villains, Lord Rita and Lord Zed, Divatox, just all taking over. You see like the Alien Rangers are in trouble. You see the Phantom Rangers in trouble. And the Rangers are defeated, the second part. And Astronema says, surrender the Rangers. And Bulk and Skull, in the first time that they were doing something right. Now, Bulk and Skull's journey, let's start. First season, they're bullies. Second season, they're friendly bullies. Third season, they're friends, sometimes bullies, and they're in a junior police patrol. In Turbo, in Zeo, they become detectives. And in the end, it's promised to do something else. But then by the Turbo movie, they're back to being detectives again. And here, Lieutenant Stone is not even present in this one. They meet Professor Phenomenus, who is their third wheel in this one. And so what Book of Skull does, like they tell the people to give them the Power Rangers, and they're like, I am the Black Ranger. And Skull's like, I am the Blue Ranger. And then Professor Phenomenus is like, I am the Red Ranger. And like after that, like everybody starts saying they're Power Rangers. And it's funny, when the reveal does happen, they're standing up there without Andrew because he goes into the ship. We're the Power Rangers. And Logan's going like, them? Because it's been what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They didn't even know it was that, even though they're the only ones that walk around wearing the Ranger colors all the time. And to save the universe, Andros needs to destroy Zordon's little case that he's in, and it'll spread energy around, good energy, and destroy all the evil. He's reluctant at first, but he does it, and that saves Karone. It destroys Dark Spectre is murdered by Karone anyway, but it destroys everything that's bad. It makes Lord Zed and Rita human, and Divatox is human too. And this was supposed to be the finale of Power Rangers. There was not supposed to be any more, but You need they got ratings. They need more. They got more seasons. But yeah, and it ends with they're saying goodbye or whatever on KO35, which is where Andros, Zane, and Heron are from. And this way they're going to say goodbye, but they get back in the ship and they fly. Even though by the time they get to the Lost Galaxy, it's a museum on Earth. I don't know. So we get to the Lost Galaxy, and it's the first one of the series, of the seasons, whatever, to have a completely new cast and a completely new. It started the phase of each season would have a new cast and a new look and everything. We are Rangers this time. They're so the whole story with this, it's basically Sword in the Stone in space. There are 5 Quasar Sabers on this planet. I don't remember what the planet is named, but there's 5. Because that's a different season. Duh. There's 5 Quasar Sabers, and the 5 Quasar Sabers. There's the Yellow Ranger. What's her name? Her name. The other ones: Leo, Damon, Kendall, Kai. I can't remember her name. I don't know, but she goes through a portal to some other planet where the Stingwingers follow her, and these soldiers, a very Starship Trooper type way, fend them off, and Mike, who's in charge, decides to go with her, with a little troop to help out. This guy wants the Quasar Sabers to help out. Leo, Mike's brother, who won't take no for an answer, runs in after him. Kai, in a fit of desperation, goes back to Earth, gets the Astro Megaship with the help of a mechanic named Damon, and flies the ship through the wormhole to the planet Miranoi. Ha! I remembered it. Still remember her name though. And these 5 swords are supposed to be destined to chosen ones. Mike, of course, is the one that pulls out the middle one, which is the Red Ranger sword. And the other 4 are Maya! That's the Yellow Ranger. They're and they manage to get pulled out. So, how many butterflies had they get together to do this? I don't know. But Mike is apparently killed, when a hole is cracked open and he falls through. Then the bad guy starts turning everyone to stone. And Mike gets the sword from his brother, and he becomes the Red Ranger. What they do with the development with this is that he believes he's not worthy because he didn't pull the sword out, his brother does. So this Magnum Defender shows up, who has a past with Scorpius, with one of the lieutenants, because he killed his son. And once that is done, it's revealed that the Magnum Defender was actually in the crack on Miranoi and used Mike's body to come back to life. And how he got back to, I don't know. But he I'm losing track. He releases Mike and becomes a spirit so he can be with his son once again. And once Mike gets back, Leo is now, he believes that he doesn't deserve to be Red Ranger because Mike pulled it out. He didn't. And Mike makes a great point. Leo says, it's your destiny. He goes, what if my destiny was to pull it out for you? Because it's got to be fate, right? For all 5 of them to somehow accidentally get there at the same time, one of them showed up to pull out a sword is one thing, but all 5 at the exact same time, maybe Mike was supposed to pull it out for Leo. Who knows? But Mike becomes the Magnum Defender. Isn't that for long?